whatever you love.
Welcome back to Fox News. We have a very tragic alert for you right now. An incredible plane crash into the World Trade Center here at the lower tip of Manhattan.
It's believed the 737 has crashed into this speculation at this point, but at least 3 floors taken out, crashed into the side of the building. Joining us right now, one of the producers with Fox Report, Owen Mugen on the scene. Owen, what do you know? What do you see? Where are you?
Yeah, Ryan, I'm on the roof of my building, which is about 5 blocks to the south of the World Trade Center. I'm looking right now at the World Trade Center. There's a massive gaping hole on the second tower. It's about 15 stories from the roof. It's just unbelievable to look at. There's a massive hole.
It looks like something out of a movie. There is a huge hole in the side of tower number 1.
Tower 1.
Owen, your apartment is just a few blocks from it. Did you hear anything?
I was lying in bed. All of a sudden I heard what sounded like a plane or something coming extremely low, and then we just heard this shattering explosion. I ran up to the roof and confronted by this horror. There's a gaping hole. I can see the south face, and there are flames. There are papers flying out of the windows, black flames. There are flames coming out of multiple floors.
Did it sound like there is one report on one news channel here in New York City that perhaps it was a jet, perhaps a 737. When you heard the noise, did it sound like a prop job or a jet?
It sounded like a jet, but from where I was, I just couldn't tell. All I know is that there was something flying through the air, and then this massive impact. Whether it was a jet, I just don't know.
Listening to you right now, I hear a lot of sirens. Is that what you're hearing right now? I mean,
yeah, I'm going to move to the front of my, which will. Yeah, you can just see it right now. You can see emergency vehicles tearing south from the West Side Highway, heading toward the scene. There are tons of people in the streets. There are papers, things fluttering out. I can't see any evidence of what it was that could have crashed. All I can see is just this massive, gaping hole with tons of black smoke falling out of the building.
Owen, we have a satellite picture right now. That is it.
A live picture. As you can see, this is different. This is a different perspective than we saw earlier. The plane obviously went in on one side and came out the other. There's debris all over the ground down below. Exactly. And as you can see, it affects perhaps 10 floors of the World Trade Center building. It is over 100 stories tall. It is the tallest structure in New York City. It is near the flight path for Newark.
And many times, whenever people for Newark, Kennedy, or LaGuardia, when those planes are put into rotation as they're waiting for landing, they circle around this area, which is right near the Statue of Liberty. It is almost 9 o'clock here on the East Coast, and let me tell you, folks are in that building early, and without a doubt, there are many people who were impacted by it.
It's speculated that the plane is as big as a 737. It looked originally like it just hit 3 floors. As I see from this angle, it seems like more than 3 floors, and perhaps what's most disturbing, Edie, I think, is the time of day. This time of morning is when people pour into that building, and it's usually next to full.
Well, you got to also remember, this is near the financial district on the tip of Manhattan. There are so many people at this hour who are in that neighborhood. And aside from the people who are in the building, remember, this is a huge structure, 10.5 million square feet the World Trade Centers take up. And as you can see, for perspective, there goes a helicopter right by it. And it obviously impacted one side and wound up affecting perhaps the other side. We do know there is debris all over the floor, down the pavement down below, and crews are, they've got all the police and the fire department and the emergency technicians are headed to that area. This is horrible.
And also, when you think about what happened to the World Trade Center before, with the bombing there and the chaos that surrounded it, this is a much different challenge, just as grave.
And also, from one of our perspectives, we can see that not only are there gaping holes, but debris continues to fall down below at this hour. As you can see, this is a story of enormous magnitude. Oh, my gosh. And we will have all the latest right here on Fox News. Right now, let's hand it over to John Scott. John.
All right, Steve Ducey, thanks very much. We will continue to keep an eye on this developing story. All we can do is stare aghast at these pictures at this point. You are looking at the north building of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in Manhattan. These are coming to you live now. Debris raining down from 110 floors up, the uppermost floor, 110 floors up. There are reports that a twin-engine plane slammed into the side of the World Trade Center. Now, something like this has happened before. Back in World War II, an Army bomber lost in the fog slammed into the upper floors of the Empire State Building. The crew of that plane was killed, but that was an accident. It happened in fog. As you can see, this is a clear blue sky day in Manhattan. If this was an accident, it would be a needle in a haystack kind of accident. One has to believe that this was deliberate, although as we are just looking at these pictures, the investigation is not even beginning yet. They are right now trying to get the injured people evacuated from those upper floors. But you can imagine this is a chaotic scene. Remember the bombing back in 1989 of the World Trade Center. That was in a more or less subterranean garage. That was an attempt, again, we're talking about 1989 now, that was an attempt to bring down the building by knocking out the support pillars. What was intended here is anyone's guess at this point. It may have been simply a suicidal pilot who wanted to make a point. We don't know. But you can see that the upper floors of the North Tower of the World Trade Center, once the tallest building in the world, very much involved in smoke and flame after a report of a plane crashing into the side of the building. We have on the phone with us Dr. Vernon Gross. He's a former investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board. Dr. Gross, have you ever seen anything like this?
Well, I haven't, but I'm old enough to remember the B-25 crashing into the Empire State Building, you know, in World War II.
That, as we've said, was a fog. That was an accident, wasn't it? Fog obscured the pilot's vision?
Yes, it was definitely an accident.
Can you think of any reason for a pilot to slam into a building of this height on a day like today if it wasn't intentional?
Well, it could have been some inattention. I wouldn't rule that out. In other words, he might have had difficulty, might have had engine failure, he might have been with his head down in the cockpit instead of looking where he was going, and it depends also on the angle of the sun, for example. Was he flying east when he hit? I don't know because I can't see the pictures.
Even for light planes, there is a traffic way up the Hudson River not very far from these buildings, isn't there?
Oh, yes. The buildings are close to the river, and furthermore, you've got three major airports in the area, LaGuardia, Newark, and JFK, and it's the busiest air corridor in the world from that point of view, so he could have been confused.
And there are some height limitations. In other words, the planes that fly by there, I'm talking about personal aircraft, light aircraft, and even some, I guess, commercial aircraft. I know that I've returned to the city from time to time and come in at a height about level with the top of the building there.
Well, certainly, and you have a lot of helicopter operations in that area down at that low altitude.
So is it in your view, this could have been an accident? We're not necessarily talking about a deliberate act here.
I wouldn't think so immediately at all. You've got to find out why he crashed, and obviously if it's a deliberate terrorist act, then there'll be a message probably from somebody taking credit for it. But right now it sounds as though the early morning sun, we've had drivers in cars get blinded, you know, by the sun. You could have aircraft trouble. So he could be distracted. There's a number of reasons why the aircraft might hit the building.
Eyewitnesses are saying it was a small commuter plane. Again, these early reports are just coming in now from the wire services. A small commuter plane apparently hitting the side of the World Trade Center. Happened, just a few minutes ago, but you can see the smoke. The smoke tower is growing. There is quite a bit of flame inside the building.